This video is about sustainability. Now, I said in a past video that I see questions of sustainability in three classes. There's the social sustainability, which is basically the sustainability question about politics. What kind of political system is sustainable? There is environmental sustainability, which is, are we going to destroy the environment? And then there's the class of sustainability, which I am most personally interested in, though they're all important, of course, which is philosophical sustainability. And I'll tell you why I became more interested in that. As far as social sustainability, I spent a lot of time in my life thinking about that. What kinds of political systems really could last the test of time? What kind of political system could you have that could last 100,000 years? And I also spent time thinking about, well, what kind of technology is sustainable? Because, I don't know if it's changed yet, but I'm pretty certain that when I was young, there was an idea that technology itself is damaging. And technology itself is to blame for the lack of sustainable technology. In other words, all technology is toxic and unsustainable. Well, I find that a really simple to answer. After thinking about it, I think it's not at all difficult. Environmental sustainability is straightforward. Technology is supposed to increase our sustainability, like medical technology. And so the fact that we're using poison technologies, to me, is not because technology has to be that way. There are social structures in place. For example, businessmen like resources that are limited, that they can control. So, there's a reason to use oil rather than renewable resources, because you can keep control of oil. So in a way, I think that's a simple problem. It's not to say that there's not a lot of work to do. I guess I could admit maybe I'm just too lazy for that kind of work. But that's not really true either, because I do, try to take part in working and using, sustainable technologies. But basically, I think the problem is straightforward. You just keep making technologies that are cleaner and cleaner, or like my idea of a restoration economy. You start huge projects, learning how to clean up the environment, and as a result, you'll know how to have clean technologies as well in the first place. So it sort of becomes more of a social sustainability issue. In other words, is your society going to have regulations? Is your society going to start these big projects that maybe there's not a private enterprise reason to start? So the question of political sustainability, as I said, I've thought a lot about. So I do have in mind some forms of political organization that I think are pretty sustainable. The problem with those are that the people we have now are not the right kinds of parts. It's like the right political system we need involves people that are different than the kinds of people we have today. And in a way, the principle is that no matter what kind of governmental form you would have, if a bunch of assholes are in it, and it's not going to make them into good people. They'll be looking for the loopholes. They'll be looking to push and violate. So basically, to have a sustainable politics means a new kind of person. And that's where philosophical sustainability comes in. We need to have philosophies that are sustainable. Look, technically, anything that doesn't kill you until after you procreate might be sustainable. A theory of destroying the Earth, but then going into outer space and living there and destroying the next planet, that's, could be sustainable. The Nazis might have been able to create a sustainable system, and that wouldn't be good enough. We need a philosophical sustainability. In other words, a philosophy that we can all live with, not just us personally, but that the other people can live with us having that philosophy. Now, the Nazis could make a system where environmental sustainability was achieved and a stable government was achieved, but it wouldn't be philosophically sustainable, because I'm not into being oppressed. I'm not into my Jewish friends being murdered, So I think philosophical sustainability is the main question. And this is the purpose of my foundational philosophy of relativistic skepticism. It's not my whole philosophy. I have other elements in my philosophy. I have mysticism in my philosophy. I have a love of nature and aesthetic qualities to my philosophy, which are not a part of relativistic skepticism on purpose, because relativistic skepticism is, it's like an adapter. It's an adapter where my philosophy, A, can coexist in a world with somebody else's philosophy, B, that has certain contradictions or certain differences. They don't need to be resolved. Relativistic skepticism is to help us realize which contradictions can be lived with and which actually need to be resolved. So I want to inject into this conversation philosophical sustainability, which is really the issue of how do people have to enlighten themselves? What is the amount of enlightenment that is the minimal amount for a long-term sustainable 100,000 years worth of sustainability kind of a system? What sorts of progress do humans need to make? What kind of things do we have to believe? And hopefully are they things that can grow from what we already believe, that can be compatible with how we want to live? Not that you would have to adopt some dogma, but how can you believe what you want but still find a sort of compatibility with the world around you, so that you can agree to disagree, so that you know how to treat people that perpetrate some crime against you, so that you know how to treat people that disagree with you, so you know how to address the meaning of your own pet peeves, and you don't put them in law. This philosophical sustainability really is underneath everything you're going to do to build a political system. So for example, I said I've imagined political systems that seem sustainable to me, but the people we have to deal with in the US, let's say, or in the world, are not yet ready for it. Well, I can't bring myself to argue for those forms of government and then say, hey, we better change. Instead, with philosophical sustainability, I want us to have the kind of philosophy that seems like it will be sustainable, get the kind of person enlightened enough for that, and then I'll ask them, then I'll tell what my ideas are about what kind of political structures we need. And we can collaborate on creating something that'll probably be different, because given a world full of people that can live in the kind of sustainable culture that I imagine, well, then you've got a group of people that can probably come up with a better idea than I've come up with as well. So to me, philosophical sustainability is at the root. It's the real root of all these questions of sustainability. And it kind of comes from the axiom of where there's a will, there's a way. If we get a better philosophy, then there will be a will to solve these problems, which to me seem quite solvable, because it does all come down to a sort of environmental sustainability, which I think is very materially solvable and is just an engineering problem, and we really have enough philosophy now to do it. So why aren't we? Philosophy. Social structures, not so simple. We need some systems that haven't been developed yet, but still, if we get the will to find a system where we can all live in democracies and agree to disagree on certain things, but agree on other things like murder being illegal, and how we're going to police people that violate our social design, then well, it all comes down to philosophy. So that's what I wanted to put out there. Thanks for listening. Cheers.